For the longest time, I thought financial stress was just a normal part of adult life. Every month felt the same. Money came in, money went out, and somehow I was always wondering where it all disappeared. I wasn't completely broke. But I definitely wasn't making progress either. And honestly, the most frustrating part was that I was working hard. Really hard. But no matter how much effort I put in, my finances still felt messy and out of control. That's when I started hearing about Dave Ramsey everywhere. Some people treated his advice like financial life-saving medicine. Others completely hated it and said it was outdated. But one thing was obvious: people had strong opinions about him. And after watching enough videos and hearing enough success stories, I decided to do something simple. For 90 days, I would follow his advice as closely as possible and see what actually happened. No complicated investing strategies. No trying to get rich fast. Just basic financial discipline. And honestly, I thought it would be easy. It wasn't. The very first thing that hit me was how uncomfortable it felt to track every dollar. Before this experiment, I liked the idea of budgeting more than the reality of it. In my head, I thought I was pretty good with money. But once I actually started writing down every expense, I realized how much money I wasted without thinking. Small purchases were killing me. Random snacks, food delivery, subscription services I barely used, impulse online shopping. Little convenience purchases that seemed harmless individually but added up to ridiculous amounts over a month. That was my first wake-up call. Most people don't realize how emotional their spending habits are until they're forced to look directly at them. One thing Dave Ramsey constantly talks about is giving every dollar a purpose before the month starts. At first, I thought that sounded extreme. But after a few weeks, I understood the psychology behind it. If you don't control your money intentionally, your emotions will control it automatically. And honestly, that explained a lot about my financial habits. Whenever I felt stressed, bored, or unmotivated, spending money gave me temporary relief. Ordering food felt rewarding after a long day. Buying random things online felt exciting for a few minutes. But none of it actually improved my financial life long term. The second big challenge was cutting unnecessary spending. This is where the experiment became genuinely difficult because modern life is designed around convenience. Everywhere you look, companies encourage spending. One-click purchases. Buy now, pay later. Constant advertisements. Everything is built to make consuming feel normal. Suddenly saying no to things felt weird. I started cooking more instead of constantly ordering food. I stopped buying things just because they were on sale. I cancelled subscriptions I forgot existed. And for the first time in years, I became brutally honest with myself about needs versus wants. What surprised me most was realizing how often I spent money simply because I was bored. That realization honestly made me uncomfortable. Another major part of the experiment was avoiding debt completely. Now this is one of the reasons people debate Dave Ramsey so much online. His anti-debt approach is extremely strict. According to him, debt is dangerous almost all the time. At first, I thought that mindset sounded outdated in today's world. After all, society normalizes debt constantly. Credit cards are considered normal. Car loans are normal. Financing almost everything is normal. But after paying closer attention for 90 days, I started seeing debt differently. The problem with debt isn't just the interest. It's the mental weight. Knowing pieces of your future income are already promised away creates stress people barely even notice anymore because they're so used to it. Every monthly payment quietly reduces your freedom. And once I started viewing debt that way, my mindset shifted completely. Now, do I agree with every single piece of Dave Ramsey advice after this experiment? Honestly, no. There were parts one personally felt were too extreme. For example, His views on credit cards are much stricter than what many financially responsible people follow today. Plenty of people use credit cards carefully, pay balances fully, and benefit from rewards without falling into debt. So I don't think every financial situation is completely black and white. But here's what shocked me. Even though I didn't agree with everything, the overall system still worked far better than I expected. Within weeks, I felt more aware of my finances than I had in years. My stress levels dropped. I stopped feeling guilty every time I checked my bank account. And for the first time in a long time, I actually felt in control instead of reactive. That feeling alone was powerful. One of the biggest lessons from the experiment had nothing to do with math. It was psychological. Financial peace comes less from how much money you make and more from how intentionally you manage it. I know people with decent incomes who are constantly stressed because their spending controls them. And I know people earning far less who feel calmer simply because they live with discipline and clarity. That realization changed my perspective completely. Another thing I noticed during the 90 days was how addicted modern culture is to instant gratification. Everything today is designed to make patience feel unnecessary. You don't have to save before buying anymore. You can finance almost anything instantly. Society constantly encourages people to prioritize present comfort over future stability. But delayed gratification is incredibly powerful financially. Learning to say, "Not now," instead of, "I deserve it," changes your entire relationship with money. And honestly, that was probably the hardest part of this experiment. Not the budgeting. Not the tracking. The discipline. Because discipline feels painful in the short term but rewarding in the long term. Impulsive spending feels rewarding in the short term but painful later. Most people simply choose the pain that arrives slower. I also realized something important about financial advice online. A lot of content focuses on becoming rich quickly, side hustles, crypto, overnight success stories. But very few people talk about mastering basic financial behavior first. And without strong fundamentals, more money often just creates bigger problems. That's why this experiment mattered to me. It forced me to slow down and fix habits instead of constantly searching for shortcuts. By the end of the 90 days, I wasn't magically rich. I didn't become a millionaire. But something far more important changed. I stopped feeling financially chaotic. I had clarity. I had structure. I understood where my money was going. And honestly, that level of awareness already puts someone ahead of a huge percentage of people. If I had to summarize the experience honestly, I'd say this: following Dave Ramsey advice for 90 days didn't make me wealthy overnight. But it completely exposed the financial habits that were quietly keeping me stuck. And once you see those habits clearly, it becomes much harder to ignore them. That's what really changed everything.